You are sitting across from the most powerful man in the room, and he is looking at you like you are a problem he already solved. His name is Ethan Cole, 34. CEO of Cole Industries, a $4.2 billion empire built on cold decisions and colder exits. He married you 3 weeks ago, not out of love, not out of desire, but out of a contract. A clause buried inside his grandfather's will that said, simply, marry before 35 or lose everything. You were the easiest option. A woman with no last name worth mentioning. No connections. No leverage. No ability to complicate things. You were sleeping on a bench outside a diner in Portland when his assistant handed you a card. You told yourself it was not real. You told yourself it would not last. But it has been 22 days and something is wrong because he has not asked you to leave yet. And last Tuesday, at a company gala, when his ex-girlfriend put her hand on his arm and laughed too loudly, you watched his eyes find yours across the room. You do not know what that look meant. You're not sure you want to. What you do know is this. The woman sitting at the end of that conference table, the one in the ivory blazer with the kind of confidence that comes from years of being chosen, she knows something about you. Something you have not told Ethan. And she is smiling. Stay. Because what happens in the next 10 minutes will change everything you think you know about why he married you. The rain is the kind that doesn't announce itself. It starts as a mist, then it is just there, soaking through the thin fabric of Mara's jacket before she even registers it is happening. She was 26. She doesn't look it. She looks like someone who stopped counting years the night her mother stopped answering the phone. The diner behind her is warm. Through the smudged glass, she can see a couple sharing pie. The woman laughs and touches the man's hand, and Mara looks away because some things are too ordinary to watch and too painful to forget. Mara Voss, I had $12.43. I had a library card and a backpack with a broken zipper. I had a plan. It was a bad plan, but it was mine. And then a black car pulled up, and a man in a suit handed me an envelope, and my bad plan became irrelevant. The man is mid-40s. His suit costs more than a month of her rent used to. He doesn't look at her like she's less than him. He doesn't look at her at all. He just holds out the envelope. Miss Mara Voss? She almost says no. Later, she'll wonder why she did not. That depends on what you want. My employer has a proposition. It is legal. It is time-limited. And it pays $300,000. The rain picks up. $300,000 could be a lot of things. A lie, a trap, a hallucination from skipping 2 meals. But her hands are already opening the envelope. Her hands are always smarter than her brain. Inside is a contract. 8 pages, double-spaced, with a post-it note on the front that says, read page 4 first. Page 4 reads, marriage of convenience. Duration, 6 months minimum. No romantic obligations. Separate quarters. Non-disclosure agreement. Compensation as outlined in Schedule A. Mara reads it twice. Then she reads it a third time. Mara Voss, I told myself it was just paperwork. People sign paperwork every day. Mortgages. Employment contracts. Organ donor forms. This was just paperwork, with a very large number attached to it. She folds the contract. When do I meet him? The man in the suit checks his watch. Tomorrow morning. 8:00 and #39 clock. She looks back at the window. The couple is gone. Just a plate with a half-eaten slice of pie. I will need somewhere to sleep tonight. He nods like he expected this. The car will take you. She picks up her backpack. The zipper is still broken. She holds it shut with her left hand the entire ride to the hotel because some habits take longer to break than circumstances do. She doesn't sleep. She reads the contract 4 more times and notices one thing she missed on the first 3 reads, a small clause at the bottom of page 6, almost swallowed by the margin. In the event that the parties develop genuine emotional attachment, this contract becomes void and subject to renegotiation. She almost laughs. Almost. Instead, she puts the contract on the nightstand and stares at the ceiling until 7 a.m. Mara Voss, it was the most comfortable bed I had slept in for 2 years. And it kept me up all night. Make of that what you will. Ethan Cole is already on a call when his assistant brings Mara in. He doesn't look up. His desk is the kind of clean that suggests control rather than neatness. Nothing on it that doesn't have a purpose, nothing present that doesn't have a reason to be there. She stands by the door for 11 seconds. She counts. Mara Voss, he was better looking than I expected. I do not know why that made things worse. He finishes the call, sets down the phone, looks at her. She was wearing the clothes she had on last night, cleaned up, best she can do. Her hair is dry now. She looks like someone trying not to look like what she is. He looks like someone who has already decided. You read the contract. Not a question. I read it 4 times. Good. Any questions? 100. She asks the only one that matters. Why me specifically? Something moves across his face. A micro-adjustment. The way a person looks when they've prepared an answer for a question, and the answer is not quite honest. Because you have nothing to lose and nothing to gain except what is in the contract. That makes you uncomplicated. She sits down, did not ask permission, just did it because she's tired of waiting for permission. And if I become complicated? He almost smiles. It doesn't reach anything. Just a slight change in the line of his mouth. Then we renegotiate. Mara Voss, I signed it. Right there. At his desk. With his pen, which cost probably more than my backpack. I signed my name on a legal document that said I would be his wife. And I did not feel afraid. I felt something else. Something I did not have a word for yet. I had find it eventually. That's the thing about words. They show up when you finally stop running from the thing they describe. The house is a mansion in the way that word has stopped meaning anything. 12 bedrooms, a library on the 2nd floor, a pool that nobody swims in. Mara's room is in the east wing. Ethan's is at the opposite end of the house. They eat breakfast in silence. Not uncomfortable silence. Just silence. 2 people with nothing to perform for each other, eating toast at a table that seats 14. Mara Voss, I kept waiting for it to feel fake. But the toast was real. The coffee was real. The sound of him turning a page of the Financial Times was so aggressively real that I had to look out the window to remember I was still the same person. On day 4, she finds a room on the 3rd floor that nobody seems to use. It has floor-to-ceiling windows and a piano with a thin layer of dust on the keys. She sits down and plays, nothing formal, just muscle memory from lessons she had at 11. She doesn't hear him come in. You play. She stops. Her hands go still on the keys. Used to. When I had a piano. It's yours to use. She wants to say it is not mine, but it is early, and she doesn't have the energy for that particular truth yet. So she just nods. And he leaves. And she sits there with her hands still on the keys and realizes she's been holding her breath. She was wearing a dress that his stylist picked. It's burgundy. It's the most expensive thing she's ever had on her body, and she can feel the price of it the entire night. A kind of self-consciousness that has nothing to do with how it looks and everything to do with what it means. Mara Voss, at some point in the evening, I realized that I had gotten good at this. The small talk. The light laugh at the right moment. The way you make yourself into a surface that reflects back exactly what the person in front of you needs to see. I had spent 2 years invisible. Turns out, invisible and elegant are just different versions of the same disappearing act. Ethan stays close. Not touching her. There is always 2 inches of air between them. But present. Attentive in the way a man is when he's maintaining a performance. Then Claire Ashton arrives. She was 31. Every inch of her curated and deliberate. She was with Ethan for 2 years. Everyone in the room knows it, and everyone pretends not to. She glides over, and Mara watches the moment Ethan's posture changes. Just slightly. The way a structure absorbs the memory of an old stress. Ethan. You look well. Her eyes go to Mara. Up, down, back to his face. A smile that is designed to feel warm and does the opposite. And this must be my wife. He says it clean. No hesitation. No apology. Mara puts her hand out. Mara Cole. Nice to meet you. She doesn't flinch at her own last name. She practiced this. Not the name, just the stillness. The way you hold yourself when someone is looking for a crack. Claire leans in, a hand on Ethan's arm, voice low enough to be private but calibrated to carry. I heard it was a quick decision. I hope she knows what she signed up for. Ethan removes his arm from under her hand. It's gentle. It's final. She does. Across the room, Mara meets his eyes. He holds the look for 2 seconds. And she doesn't know, she genuinely doesn't know, if she's reading something into it or reading something out of it. That's the thing about a man who controls everything. You can never tell if what you're seeing is a crack or a reflection. The city moves past the window. She watches it. You are good tonight. She looks at him. You say that like it surprises you. It doesn't. I thought you would be more uncomfortable. With what? With the room. The people. With the pretending? A pause. The car hits a stoplight. The city is orange and gold through the glass. She turns to look at him. I've been pretending for longer than this, Ethan. I am just pretending I belong somewhere this time. That's easier, not harder. He looks at her for too long. The light changes. He looks away. Mara Voss, I said his name. For the first time, not for the benefit of someone else in the room, not because the contract required it, just because it was there, and so was he. And I felt it leave my mouth differently than it had every other time. Like something shifting. Like the first sound of ice starting to crack, when you're standing on it and you do not know yet whether to run or to stand very, very still. She cannot sleep. She finds him there. He was sitting in one of the leather chairs with a glass of something amber and a folder open on his knee. He looks different at 1 a.m. Like a man who forgot to be a CEO for a minute. You're still up. So are you. She sits. Not across the room, in the chair beside his. Because it is 1 a.m. and she's tired of navigating distance she did not create. Can I ask you something? You can ask. The clause. In the contract. Page 6. Bottom of the page. She watches his hand tighten almost imperceptibly around the glass. There it is. I am familiar with the clause. Did you write it? Or was it your lawyer? A long pause. The kind that has weight to it. It was there when I approved the final draft. That's not the same as answering. He looks at her. And this time she doesn't look away, even though something in his eyes makes the smart part of her brain suggest she probably should. Go to sleep, Mara. You did not answer.
No.
I did not. She stands up, walks to the door,
Stops.
Why did Claire Ashton look at me like she already knows something about me? Something I have not told you. The room goes very quiet. Mara Voss, he did not answer that one either. But he put down his glass. And that told me more than words would have. Because men like Ethan Cole do not put things down unless something has made them forget to hold on. She was there because he asked her to be. Routine spousal appearance, a board lunch before quarterly reports. She was learned to move through these rooms like she was always going to end up in them. Claire Ashton is at the table. Nobody told her that. Mara sits down, puts her hands flat on the table. In her head, you knew this would happen eventually. You knew someone was going to look at you and say the name they know and watch the ground fall out. But the lunch goes fine. It goes perfectly, actually, because Mara spent 2 years learning to eat in places that did not want her. Conference rooms are nothing. It's after. The hallway. Claire stops beside her at the elevator. I looked you up. Most people use Google for that. I have better resources than Google. A pause. Your mother's name was Diane Voss. She was a bookkeeper for a company called Aldrin Partners in San Francisco. She disappeared from record approximately 7 years ago. The elevator opens. Mara doesn't move. Aldrin Partners was a subsidiary of Cole Industries. There it is. Claire watches her with that calibrated smile. I do not know if he knows. But I think you should consider whether this marriage is as accidental as you've told yourself it is. Mara Voss, my mother disappeared 7 years ago. Not literally, she's alive, I think, somewhere. She disappeared from my life. And now I am standing in the hallway of a company that might be the reason she did. And I am married to the man who runs it. And I have been telling myself every single day that this was just paperwork. The elevator closes without her. She was sitting on the floor of her room when he knocks. She doesn't say come in. He comes in anyway. He sees her. He doesn't say anything immediately. He sits on the floor beside her, his back against the bed, because he's a man who is used to reading what a room needs, and tonight, apparently, this room needs him lower. What did Claire say to you? She knows about my mother. He goes still. Diane Voss. She worked for Aldrin Partners. Ethan closes his eyes for 1 second.
1.
Then they open. I know. The word lands like a stone in still water. Everything ripples. You know. I know who she was. I know what happened to the Aldrin Fund. I know she left because she was afraid. She left me. She left a 17-year-old girl. He doesn't flinch. He takes it. I know. Did you know she was my mother when you?
No.
I found out 3 days after we signed the contract. She looks at him. She was looking for the lie, and she cannot find it, and she doesn't know if that means it is not there, or if she stopped being objective enough to see it. Why did not you tell me? A long silence. The room is dim. Outside, the city hums. Because I did not know how. And because he stops. Starts again. I wanted to find out more before You wanted to control the information. Yes. She appreciates the honesty even as it guts her. Can you find her? With your resources. Can you find out where she is? I've already been looking. Mara Voss, there is a specific kind of betrayal that doesn't feel like a knife. It feels like the ground shifting. Like you thought you were standing on something solid and you look down and realize it was glass the whole time, and it has been glass and you've been walking on it, and you just have not looked down until now. That was that moment. But here's the thing about glass. Sometimes it holds. Sometimes it turns out to be stronger than you thought. And I did not know yet which kind this was. She plays for an hour. The same piece, over and over. Not because it is beautiful, it was the last thing her mother taught her. He stands in the doorway again. She doesn't stop this time. He walks over. Sits on the bench beside her. Not touching. Always that 2 inches of air. But it is the closest they've been. His hand finds the keys. One note. Then another. Not a melody. Just presence. Mara Voss, my mother used to say music is just organized honesty. You cannot pretend with music the way you can with words. Your hands either know the truth or they do not. I looked at his hands on the keys and I thought, what does this man know the truth about? And what is he still pretending? I am not going to pretend the contract is all this is. She keeps playing. I am not asking you to, but I am also not in a position to promise.
Ethan.
I did not ask you to promise anything. He was quiet. I've been trying to fix the Aldrin situation since I took over the company. What happened to those employees, what happened to your mother, was my father's decision. Not mine. She still left. She was scared. She made a bad decision while scared. Mara's hands stopped moving. People do that. He looks at her. Yes. Mara Voss, he was not talking about my mother anymore. I knew that. I think he knew I knew. And we both sat with it. That thing in the air between us that had been building for weeks, and neither of us named it. Because naming it would make it real.
And real things break.
And we had both been broken enough. The regret hits him at 9:47 a.m. Not the regret you would expect, not I shouldn't have married her. The other kind. The worst kind. Ethan Voss, I built a life around not needing. Not needing approval, not needing warmth, not needing anyone to sit in a room with me at 1 a.m. and call me out on the exact thing I hadn't said. And then I hired a woman with $12 and a broken backpack, and she's been in my house for 29 days, and I cannot remember what the house felt like before her. He regrets the contract. Not because it exists, because of what is in it. Because 6 months feels insufficient. Because no romantic obligations is a sentence he wrote like armor, and she's dismantled it room by room without even trying. He regrets that he found out about her mother 3 days in, and did not tell her immediately. He regrets that he calculated the cost of disclosure, instead of just choosing honesty. He regrets that he has, at 34, despite every controlled choice and managed outcome, made the most human possible error. He let someone matter. His assistant is saying something about quarterly projections. He is thinking about a woman playing piano in a room at 1 a.m. He finds her packing. Not everything, not dramatically, not theatrically. Just her backpack. The one with the broken zipper. She was holding it shut with her left hand. Where are you going? I need to find my mother. I will come with you. She looks up. This was not what she expected. She did not have a line prepared for this. You have a company. It'll still be a company tomorrow. Ethan. The clause on page 6. She goes very still. I wrote it. I told my lawyer to put it in. I do not know why I am telling you that now except that you asked me and I did not answer, and I've been, he stops. Breathes. I've been doing a lot of not answering. Mara Voss, he wrote it. He wrote the clause that said if something real happened, we could start over. Before we even met. He wrote an exit from the performance into the contract. Like part of him already knew. She sets down the backpack. She was in Sacramento. I know. Of course you do. Something passes between them. Not comfortable. Nothing about this is comfortable, but real. Undeniably, inconveniently real. Come with me. He picks up her backpack. Doesn't mention the zipper. Lead the way. Sacramento. A small house with a garden that is slightly overgrown. A woman at the door, who looks like Mara the way a first draft looks like a final. Same bones, different weight. Mara's hands are shaking. She was held them steady through gala dinners and boardrooms, and one very long conversation at 1 a.m. They're shaking now. Ethan puts his hand over them. Not a gesture, just a fact. His hand over hers. She rings the bell. Mara Voss, I married a man who thought I was uncomplicated. And maybe he was right, just not in the way he meant it. I was not uncomplicated because I had nothing. I was uncomplicated because I had nothing left to protect. No walls built up high enough to matter anymore. And it turns out, that is the most dangerous thing you can be, open. Genuinely, terrifyingly open. And he saw it. And instead of walking away from it, he wrote a clause for it. At 34 years old, the most controlled man I had ever met wrote a door into the contract. In case we needed to walk through it together. The door opens. Her mother's eyes go wide. Mara doesn't let go of his hand. Hi, Mom.